today I didn't feel the need to um, start this person off in the beginning and just, you know, go by. It is with my pleasure and honor to do my own, I guess, podcast tribute to Sinead O'Connor, rest in peace, who passed away at the age of 56 last week. Let us go now to ABC Eyewitness News real quick before I do my little thing. So, Sinead O'Connor's death is not suspicious, police say, as tributes pour in for the Irish singer. This is on about 4 days ago, July 27th. What's this ad doing? All right, so the death of Irish singer Sinead O'Connor is not being treated as suspicious, police say, after she was found unresponsive at a home in London. Tributes have been pouring in for the 56-year-old who found global fame with her version of the ballad "Nothing Compares to You." A statement from the Metropolitan Police said police were called at 11:18 hours on Wednesday, July 26, to reports of an unresponsive woman at a residential address in SC24 area. Officers attended. A 56-year-old woman was pronounced dead at the scene. Next of kin have been notified. The death is not being treated as suspicious. No medical cause has been given in relation to O'Connor's death. London's Inner South Coroner's Court announced on Thursday. The death of Sinead O'Connor in Lambeth was notified to the coroner on Wednesday, July 26, 2023. No medical cause of death was given, the coroner's court said. The coroner therefore directed an autopsy needs to be conducted. The results of this may not be available for several weeks. Once the results of the autopsy are known, the coroner's court will decide if an inquest is needed. News of O'Connor's death broke on Wednesday and was confirmed in a statement from her family, who said they were devastated. Figures from the world of music and beyond have been mourning the loss. What Ireland has lost at such a relatively young age is one of our greatest and most gifted composers, songwriters, and performers of recent decades. One who had a unique talent and extraordinary connection with her audience, all of whom held such love and warmth for her. Irish President Michael D. Higgins said in a statement sent to CNN. May her spirit find the peace she sought in so many different ways, his statement concluded. I hope you are at peace. Actor Catriona Balfe wrote on her Instagram page, adding, and with your baby boy. Thank you for sharing, which they're referring to her son that had committed suicide just recently also. God bless to the O'Connor family in general. Thank you for sharing your soul with us and soothing us with your incredible voice, beautiful Sinead. Of course, it goes on with many different people who tribute to her. Sinead O'Connor also made headlines for in the very beginning of her career in 1989, or the beginning of her stardom, I want to say. Sinead O'Connor also shaved her head, and she had the rap group Public Enemy. She had the logo of Public Enemy in her head in 1989 Grammys. Let me show y'all real quick. So that's her right there with the Public Enemy symbol. She wore that as a symbol of tribute, for the simple fact that a lot of artists, and I'm going to play the Arsenio Hallway interview in just a second, for the simple fact that there were so many artists that were boycotting the Grammys, including rap, for this because they had felt the need to leave rap out of the Grammys on television, which, ironically, Sinead O'Connor was sitting there, and when they finally panned the camera to her, they only showed the right side of her head and not the left. They literally only showed her looking away from the camera so they can show just her right side of her head and not the left. And even in the performance, which I wish I could show because of copyright reasons I can't, when she performed Mankinda, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, when she performed the song Mankinda, they blurred out the target symbol on her head. They blurred out the Public Enemy symbol on her head. They made sure that it was not visible on public television. But she was definitely a beacon of hope and a person that represented telling their truth. That's why Flavor Flav, Ice Cube, Chuck D, amongst many rappers, paid lovely tribute to her. One of her biggest claims to fame, though,
we find it necessary. We know we will win. We have confidence in the victory of good over evil. Fight the real enemy.
How were you treated when you said, fight the real enemy, and you ripped up that picture of the Pope? How were you treated after?
You know, I don't really remember. I think there was a kind of a mixed reaction, to be honest. You know what I mean? I didn't, you know, I'm an intelligent woman. I knew there would be an aftermath. You know, I didn't expect that, you know, I was going to be carried around in a chair and, you know, have champagne poured all over me or anything, you know. So, you know, I don't really remember a whole lot about it. Obviously, there was mixed feelings. You know, there was some were supportive and some were not supportive, and I understood those that weren't, because we in Ireland knew about this abuse issue in 1987, which reminds me another important point that you must make to anyone you're communicating with on this matter, and which again proves the Pope's letter to be dishonest. The Irish Church took out an insurance policy in 1987 to protect them against claims they foresaw would be being brought by victims. They then, that is a matter of record, it's in the Ferns report, they then sat back until 1994 and waited for the shit to hit the fan. Sorry, I'm just turning my phone over. So, look, we knew in Ireland 10 years before anyone in America or Canada knew, so I understand that at the time I made that gesture, it was an abhorrent idea in America to suggest that a priest could be sexually molesting a child. So I don't have any, you know, bad feelings or anything about it. I completely understand why people found that an abhorrent idea, you know.
But do you feel somewhat vindicated today?
I don't think in those kind of terms. You know, to me, this isn't about me or you or anybody else. It's about the victims. And I'm always wondering, you know, I have conversations with them. Should you call them victims? I'm a survivor of very severe child abuse myself, not clerical abuse, but very severe abuse. And I always liked to refer to myself as a survivor. I don't like to think I'm a victim. But when I've been speaking with the survivor groups, they've asked, actually, no, they said, we don't want to be called victims or survivors because some of us didn't actually make it. Some of these kids died in industrial schools from violence. Some of them killed themselves later after being brutally raped and not being believed by their families, not being believed by the church, la, 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 la. So I think it's not about, do I feel vindicated or you or me or any bloody body else. It's about these poor children who actually went through the violence and horror that we can't even begin to imagine. And if we care actually about it, we should make it our business to study what did they go through.
We find...
So, I wanted y'all to hear it from Sinead herself on why she did what she did when she ripped the picture. I'm going to really quick play a more detailed documented clip of also on why she did it. But Wanted y'all to hear from Sinead herself on why she did it. For the simple fact, I felt it was very important in context. Sinead stood for the truth, and she didn't back away from her truth. She stood loudly and proudly in her truth at all times and never shied away from it. And on that moment in Saturday Night Live where she did that, performing the Bob Marley record War, as you saw, she had the Bob Marley beanie colors on the actual microphone as well. One thing I also loved about Sinead O'Connor is that she didn't need music in her background. Her voice was powerful enough and beautiful enough that it grabbed your attention. You just wanted to hear her speak. And when she spoke, like I said, she spoke with good intention and never evil. She stood against evil, if anything. Wanted to play this something for y'all real quick.
30 years ago, Sinead O'Connor tore a picture of Pope John Paul II in half on live TV. At the time, most people didn't get why. O'Connor was born and raised in Dublin, Ireland during a time when the Catholic Church still had a lot of power over the country. She suffered physical and sexual abuse at the hands of her mother and then later at the hands of the clergy when she was sent to a Magdalene asylum, a common punishment for Irish teenagers in the 1970s. She was sent by her mother on the advice of a social worker after being caught shoplifting at the age of 15. In an interview with Spin magazine in 1990, she said of those 18 months, "I have never, and probably will never, experience such panic and terror and agony over anything." When she burst onto the music scene with her debut album, The Lion and the Cobra, she was celebrated for her songwriting and vocal talents, and drew attention and criticism for her shaved head. A strong opponent to the traditional male gaze of women, Sinead's stark bald head made her both immediately recognizable and a threat. She dedicated The Lion and the Cobra to her abusive mother who died in a car crash when Sinead was 18. On Troy, she writes about her mother locking her out of their house in a rainstorm.
Sitting in the long grass in summer, keeping warm.
And marks the end of her familial destruction.
There's no other Troy for you to burn out.
According to her 2021 memoir, Rememberings, the only remnant of her mother that she kept after her death was a framed photo of Pope John Paul II that was hanging in her bedroom. For Sinead, who grew up directly in the shadow of the Catholic Church's hidden crimes of the 20th century, that photo served as a reminder of the power of abuse and the trauma it can cause. She saved that photograph for 7 years after her mother died and brought it on stage with her for her first and only performance on Saturday Night Live. For her second song, she sang a cover of Bob Marley's War, changing the lyrics to include specific mentions of child abuse. As she sang the last word, she ripped the photo in half and declared,
Fight the real enemy.
She faced a wave of criticism from not just conservatives and religious leaders, but also from the mainstream media, even being criticized by other celebrities like Madonna and Joe Pesci.
If it was my show, I would have gave her such a smack.
Of course, today we know the depths of abuse covered up by the Catholic Church, but O'Connor's career was never the same, and she was never offered an apology when history proved her right. When asked if she felt the incident derailed her music career, she said, "Having a #1 record derailed my career, and my tearing the photo put me back on the right track."
And that was why I felt the need to play that clip after, for the simple fact that Sinead O'Connor was blackballed after she did that. Unfortunately. And it was kind of crazy that so many celebrities didn't stand with. You got to understand, this is also a time in the 90s where, you know, celebrities are scared to speak out. Celebrities are definitely scared to lose things. And no one was going to stand with her during these times of her saying, I stand for something. I don't give a fuck about what y'all talking about, but I know what I stand for, and I know what I went through as a child. It was very unfortunate that nobody wanted to stand with her during those times, but when she passed away last week, you see all these tributes. But during her time on this earth, no one wanted to stand by her. Unfortunately. such a beautiful soul, a beautiful and amazing soul, Sinead O'Connor. And once again, she wanted to stand up for what was right. She never wanted to shy away from that. And this is a interview from the 90s with Sinead O'Connor and Arsenio Hall.
Nominated for 4 of those awards. Let's
Listen
let
to
her
this.
talk about it. Please welcome Sinead O'Connor.
This is the most beautiful display of her soul, where I felt she definitely
Yes. I'm sure everybody has heard about this thing, and sometimes we get distorted views and misquotes. Why don't you explain why you don't want to go tomorrow? And it's not too late for me and you to get some tuxes and go, you know. I'll take you.
I'd go if I went with you.
Good night.
Well, first of all, I want to point out that it's not just the Grammys that are pulled out of the English awards as well, the English equivalent. The reason that I wanted to pull out was because I believe very much that the music industry as a whole operates mainly, it's concerned mainly with material success, and a lot of artists I think, are responsible for encouraging the belief among people that material success will make them happy. And I think one of the ways that the industry encourages commercial success and materiality is by having award ceremonies which very much honour those who have achieved material success rather than people who've told the truth or who've done anything to pass information to people or to inspire people or to, you know, just be truthful about it.
very prophetic, as we are going through those same exact times right now, where award ceremonies are presented in front of us as some sort of award that actually means something, when at the end of the day it means actually nothing. It's another piece of material.
Anything, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense.
Well, it makes sense, because I guess in the past there have been people like Jimi Hendrix and Bob Dylan who probably had never received Grammys.
Well, that's
Or-
true. I mean, Bob Dylan, I think, received a Grammy for a good vocal performance, you know what I mean? Which doesn't make any sense to me, or it doesn't make any sense to me. But, well, exactly, like can Bob Dylan sing, you know? You know, I mean, he's brilliant, you know what I mean? He should receive Grammys for being brilliant and for speaking the truth and for fighting for the things that he fought for, you know? The same as Ice Cube should, or the same as Van Morrison should, or people like that. And John Lennon has to die, like, before he gets a Grammy. You know?
Aren't there some rappers that aren't even going to go tomorrow night or something?
Apparently, the Rush management apparently have pulled their people out.
Yeah.
So.
The question in a lot of minds is probably, because, you know, you and I did the MTV Awards together, and you went to the AMAs.
Mm-hmm.
Why those and not this one?
Well, first of all, I went to the AMAs purely to confirm everything that I'd been thinking. Anyway, I'd been thinking about this for a long time before that, and I wanted to go there and see. I wanted to know whether, in the light of there being a world war happening, which is happening because we as a race are concerned with material success rather than each other. We don't love each other. We don't care about each other. We kill each other. We allow each other to starve to death. You know, we censor each other. You know, we rape each other. We beat each other up. We abuse our children in every way possible, you know what I mean? So in the light of there being a world war, which I think is happening because of all of those things, I wanted to see if any artists would say anything when they had the platform about the war and about how tragic it was, and nobody said a word other than, you know, peace in the Middle East, but I don't know what that means when you're dressed in a suit that's made out of the American flag.
Sinead O'Connor was blackballed for the simple fact that she spoke out against the elites. She spoke out against the powers that be. And I think the emphasis on her death not being suspicious is very telling.
You know what I mean? So I wanted to basically...
Kind of like this.
Well... Well, no, There's one thing that must be pointed out, that, you know, it's very easy, and a lot of people have done this. I don't have any problem with America or with American people, and it's simply a lie for anybody to say that I do. If I did, I wouldn't live in this country, and I'd hardly even be sitting here speaking to anybody. But the fact is that I don't agree with segregation of any kind, whether it's in music or whether it's to do with nationalism or patriotism of any kind. I believe in having a sense of pride in your country and where you're from, but I believe in the human race. I don't believe in sections of it, or, you know, sections of music. I believe in art. You know what I mean? I don't believe in segregation of any kind. So, basically, I went to the American Music Awards because I wanted to see whether anybody would have the guts to say anything. You know, like how tragic it is that the war is on, and nobody did. So that's when I decided that, you know, I didn't want to be part of the whole thing.
And what do you think about the positive efforts that have come out of the music industry, like the We Are the World thing and Live Aid, things like that?
I think that's brilliant. I think that on the part of the artists that were involved, it was brilliant. But if you look at the record companies and how they behaved when all that was going on, record companies were putting adverts out in newspapers saying, you know, buy this record as seen on the Nelson Mandela Show or as seen on Live Aid, using the whole thing for promotion, which is disgraceful. Using it to make money for themselves. You know, I don't know how much of it went to the famine relief, you know.
Yeah.
So.
This has become an international issue with you. Isn't there a DJ that said, I mean, in England, who said you should be spanked or something?
Yeah.
Can you give me his number in case y'all work it out? I'd like to do the spanking.
Oh, I'd like it to. I was going to ask you if you would, actually.
Yeah, let's get busy. Let's really get busy.
What are you doing later on?
Yeah. Who is this guy? Is he...
Don't avoid the issue.
I'm not going to avoid the issue. I just want to give you your time now, and I'll get my time later.
Okay. There's this DJ called Jonathan King, he's the producer of the English equivalent to the Grammys, which is called the b.p.a. Awards, and he was very upset at the fact that I refused to accept the British award for Best International Female. And what he did was he showed a video of Whitney Houston singing the American national anthem, and this was supposed to insult me. He did an interview recently with Music Week and Billboard where he said that I needed to be taught some manners, and that artists in general shouldn't be allowed to become bad-mannered, that they should receive a good spanking. Just as a parent spanks a child, he said Sinead O'Connor should be spanked for being so bad-mannered. So,
I know all this must get to you because I know negative stuff about me seems to surface and get to me quicker than positive response. It seems like people who like you never write or anything like that, you know. But I hope you know there are a lot of people that support you. There was a wonderful article in the New York Times. There was something in Time magazine. And there are a lot of people who not only support you, but support your right.
I think that there are a lot of people who support. At the end of the day, like, what have I said? What I've said is that I believe that the human race is concerned mostly with money, and, you know, that we are concerned more about money than we are about each other. Like, at the end of the day, that's what I've said. And I think that probably every person in this room and on the planet agrees with that money basically is the cause of every sort of problem that we see happening in the universe. And I think what people disagree with and have the problem with is when the media give the impression that I'm some sort of anti-American. And I don't know where they get it from or where, you know, they draw the whole thing from. But, you know, it's the very people that I'm talking about, the very people that are responsible for being so greedy and for encouraging the whole thing. They're the ones that have the problem, you know what I mean? I don't think that it's actual real people, you know.
The people you've come in contact with, other than this DJ there, how about DJs here? How about musicians? How's the industry responded to you?
I wouldn't say that it's responded enormously favourably to me because I'm criticising it. You know what I mean? I think if there's one thing I failed to point out is that there are a lot of people involved in the industry who are not greedy and who are not in it simply to make money and use people. But I'd say that 80% are, you know, and the 80% that are, of course, have been very vociferous in their disagreement with me, and how they're very patronising, of course, and how, you know, who am I to talk since I've only had one hit record, and even that was written by Prince, and I only have it. The only reason I'm in the music business is because I have a shaved head, that kind of thing. You know, that's basically the response from people. There hasn't been an awful lot of support from people within the industry, no.
Did you?
And we're kind of going to cut it right there. If you guys want, there is the full 20-minute interview and performance on Arsenio Hall show on YouTube. But we're gonna cut it right there for the simple fact that she said enough, and like I said, it's not a suspicious thing. I won't get into the rabbit hole of why. It's not a suspicious thing of why she was found dead in London. That's all I'm gonna say. Because that was another reason why I felt the need to stop it at the whole Prince thing as well. But what Sinead did leave her kids was wisdom. Very, very good wisdom. In 2021, an interview with People magazine to promote her memoir, Rememberings, O'Connor said she had explained to her children the importance of protecting her music and finances. To that end, she said she told them to call her accountant before they telephoned 911 should she ever be found dead. See, when the artists are dead, they're much more valuable than when they're alive, she told the publication. Tupac has released way more albums since he died than he ever did alive. So it's kind of gross what record companies do. That's why I've always instructed my children since they were very small. If your mother drops dead tomorrow, before you call 911, call my accountant and make sure the record companies don't start releasing my records and not telling you where the money is, she further explained. Rest in peace and God bless to Sinead O'Connor for being the amazing soul and beautiful soul of truth that you were. We all know about the shady record companies and the way the music industry is, the shady industry, music, Hollywood in general. We all know how shady Hollywood can be. And once again, rest in peace to Sinead O'Connor. Is how we will end the beautiful tribute to her.